The high-powered plasma pruner slices through the ornate conference table, its blue-white energy beam missing Ambassador Lyra's head by mere centimeters. Chaos erupts in the Galactic Peace Summit's main hall on Centauri Prime as security forces swarm towards a human delegation. Was an accident. Henry Warren, Earth's chief diplomat, shouts as he's tackled to the ground. The pruner clatters across the polished floor, its safety protocol deactivated. Alien delegates scatter, their tentacles, appendages, and pseudopods flailing in panic. Lyra, the Comer ambassador, stands frozen, her iridescent scales reflecting the emergency lights now flashing throughout the chamber. Her eyes, multifaceted and gleaming, lock onto Henry's as he's restrained. This human brought a weapon to a peace summit. The Zygonian representative's translator squeals, their gelatinous form quivering with indignation. Henry struggles against his captors. It's not a weapon. It's for gardening. The statement only intensifies the uproar. Murmurs ripple through the assembly as species from across the galaxy process disinformation. A tool for cultivating plants that can slice through reinforced durasteel? What kind of hellscape is Earth? Summit security officers begin confiscating items from the human delegation. Plasma shears, gravitational tillers, and molecular composters are piled onto a hovercart, each device eliciting gasps of shock and fear from the alien representatives. Amidst the commotion, Lyra edges closer to the discarded pruner, her curiosity piqued. She reaches out a slender, scaled hand, but is quickly pulled back by her security detail. The Comer Confederation withdraws from all trade negotiations with Earth. Lyra's aide announces, his voice amplified across the chamber. We cannot trust a species that considers these implements of destruction to be simple gardening tools. Henry, now on his feet but still restrained, pleads his case. Please, you don't understand. Our world demands these tools. The flora on Earth. Silence. The summit arbiter, a towering Vexillian, thunders. Its crystalline form pulses with angry red light. The human delegation is hereby suspended from the proceedings pending a full investigation. As Henry is escorted from the chamber, he catches sight of other alien races huddled in urgent discussion. The Praxian ambassador gestures wildly, mandibles clicking as it argues for stricter regulations on human technology exports. Outside the main hall, Henry overhears snippets of conversation. Can we risk allowing Deathworlders to spread throughout the galaxy? Their adaptations make them too unpredictable, too dangerous. Perhaps all high-gravity species should be quarantined for the safety of the galactic community. The human delegation scrambles to salvage the situation. Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Union, Elena Cortez, approaches Henry with a stern expression. Warren, do you realize what you've done? Years of diplomatic progress, undone in an instant. She runs a hand through her silver hair, stress evident in every line of her face. We need to find a way to demonstrate the peaceful applications of our technology, or we'll lose our seat at the galactic table. As security leads him away, Henry's mind races. He knows that the fate of Earth's place in the galactic community now hangs in the balance. Somehow, he must turn this gardening mishap into a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. Just before the doors close behind him, Henry spots Lyra, the Comer ambassador, watching him intently. Despite the chaos, her expression is one of fascination rather than fear. In that moment, Henry realizes he might have found an unexpected ally in his quest to salvage humanity's reputation. The doors seal shut, leaving Henry to contemplate how a simple pruning tool might have just pruned Earth's future from the galactic landscape. As the doors sealed shut behind Henry, his mind raced with potential solutions. He knew he had to act quickly to salvage not just his reputation, but Earth's standing in the galactic community. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, but a spark of inspiration ignited in his mind. Ambassador Cortez, Henry said, turning to face her. I have an idea. We need to show them our technology isn't a threat, but a tool for growth and sustainability. Elena's expression softened slightly, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. What did you have in mind, Warren? A demonstration. We'll show them exactly how our gardening equipment works in practice. It's time to put our Deathworld expertise to good use. Within hours, Henry's proposal had made its way through the bureaucratic channels of the Galactic Peace Summit. To his surprise and relief, the organizers agreed to a controlled demonstration, albeit with heavy security measures in place. As preparations began, Henry reached out to Dr. Marcus Jackson, Earth's leading xenobotanist who had accompanied the delegation. Marcus, I need your help. We're going to show these aliens what our weapons can really do. Dr. Jackson's eyes lit up with excitement. A chance to showcase our adaptive agricultural techniques? Count me in. The next day, Henry and Dr. Jackson stood at the entrance of a hastily constructed biodome on Centauri Prime. Transparent walls arched overhead, encasing a diverse array of alien flora carefully selected for the demonstration. Skeptical diplomats filed in, their varied anatomies a testament to the galaxy's biodiversity. Henry spotted Lyra, the Comer ambassador, her iridescent scales shimmering as she took a position near the front. "Welcome," Henry began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Today, we'll demonstrate the true purpose and capability of Earth's gardening technology." Dr. Jackson stepped forward, holding the plasma pruner. This tool, which caused such alarm yesterday, is designed for precision work in extreme environments. Observe. With a deft movement, he activated the pruner. The blue-white energy beam sprang to life, drawing gasps from the audience. But instead of destruction, they witnessed artistry. Dr. Jackson moved from plant to plant, trimming overgrown branches, removing diseased sections, and shaping unruly bushes into elegant forms. The plasma pruner's high-energy beam cauterizes as it cuts, Henry explained, preventing infection and promoting rapid healing in the plant. Murmurs of interest replaced the earlier fear and suspicion. Henry noticed Lyra leaning forward, her multifaceted eyes fixed on the demonstration. As Dr. Jackson moved to showcase other tools, a commotion erupted near the biodome's entrance. A flustered Zygonian researcher burst in, gelatinous form quivering with distress. "There's been a terrible mistake," the researcher's translator squealed. "A shipment of experimental Zygonian carnivorous vines was sent here instead of our research facility." As if on cue, angry red tendrils began to sprout from several unmarked containers near the wall. The vines grew at an alarming rate, their surfaces glistening with acidic secretions that sizzled when they touched the ground. Panic erupted among the diplomats. Security personnel rushed forward, energy weapons drawn, but their blasts seemed to have little effect on the rapidly expanding plant mass. In the chaos, Henry locked eyes with Dr. Jackson. A silent understanding passed between them. This was no longer a demonstration. It was a trial by fire. "Everyone, stay calm," Henry shouted, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. "We can handle this." He grabbed the plasma pruner from Dr. Jackson and tossed it to a nearby Praxian diplomat. "Here, use this to cut through the thickest vines." Dr. Jackson was already moving, distributing other Earth gardening tools to willing alien participants. "Sonic trowels can disrupt the root systems," he instructed a group of tentacled Octotsi. "And these adaptive fertilizers will neutralize the acid." Henry found himself working alongside Lyra, the Comer ambassador. Her initial hesitation gave way to determined focus as they used vibro shears to sever the vine's nutrient pathways. "Remarkable precision," Lyra commented, her translator barely keeping up with her rapid clicks and whistles. "These tools are indeed formidable, but I see now they are not weapons of war." As they worked, Henry explained Earth's history with aggressive flora. "Our world shaped us, forced us to innovate. These tools are the result of generations of adaptation and survival. The impromptu team of humans and aliens made steady progress against the Zygonian vines. Earth's Deathworld technology, in the hands of a diverse galactic crew, proved devastatingly effective against the biological invader. After an intense hour of battling the vines, the biodome fell silent. Diplomat stood next to diplomat, humans alongside aliens, all spattered with acidic plant residue and breathing heavily from the exertion. Lyra turned to Henry, her scales reflecting the biodome's lights in a dazzling display. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we were too hasty in our judgment of Earth's technology. These tools, in the right hands, could be invaluable for maintaining ecosystems across the galaxy." Before Henry could respond, the biodome's communication system crackled to life. The voice of the summit arbiter, tinged with urgency, filled the air. "Attention all delegates. We've received reports of similar Zygonian vine outbreaks on multiple worlds across the galaxy. This situation may be more serious than we initially thought." Henry and Dr. Jackson exchanged glances. What had started as a diplomatic mishap had suddenly become a potential interstellar crisis. As worried murmurs spread through the gathered aliens, Henry realized that Earth's expertise in handling dangerous flora might be the galaxy's best hope for containing this threat. The stage was set for humanity to prove its worth to the galactic community. But as Henry looked around at the faces of the alien diplomats, some grateful, others still wary, he knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The human delegation found themselves thrust into the center of an interstellar crisis, their expertise suddenly invaluable. The biodome's communication system crackled again. "All delegates, report to the Grand Assembly Chamber immediately," the summit arbiter's voice commanded. Henry exchanged a meaningful glance with Dr. Jackson as they hurried out, joined by Lyra and other alien representatives. The corridors buzzed with nervous energy as diplomats from across the galaxy converged. Inside the chamber, holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time footage of Zygonian vines engulfing entire cities on distant worlds. The summit arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with urgent red and orange hues as it addressed the assembly. "The situation has escalated beyond our initial assessment. We are declaring a galaxy-wide state of emergency." Ambassador Elena Cortez stepped forward, her voice steady despite the palpable tension. "Earth stands ready to assist. Our experience with aggressive flora makes us uniquely qualified to combat this threat." A low murmur rippled through the crowd. The Praxian ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly as it spoke. "And how do we know this isn't an elaborate ploy by the humans to gain access to our worlds?" Before Cortez could respond, Lyra interjected. "I witnessed their technology firsthand. It's our best chance at containing this outbreak." As debates erupted across the chamber, Henry felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to find Dr. Jackson, eyes wide with excitement. "Henry, I need to show you something. Now." They slipped out of the chamber and into a makeshift lab where Dr. Jackson had been analyzing samples of the Zygonian vines. He pulled up a holographic display of 2 DNA sequences. "Look at this," he said, highlighting a section of genetic code. "This marker is unique to a decorative plant from Earth. These vines aren't just similar to Earth flora. They're derived from it." Henry's mind raced with the implications. "You're saying someone engineered these vines using Earth plants as a base?" Dr. Jackson nodded grimly. "Exactly. This isn't a natural outbreak. It's bioengineering, possibly a weapon." Before they could discuss further, Ambassador Cortez burst into the lab. "Warren Jackson, we need you back in the chamber. Now, we're forming an emergency response team, and I volunteered you both to lead it." As they re-entered the Grand Assembly chamber, Henry noticed a new group had arrived. Their uniforms bore the insignia of the Voth Confederacy, a militaristic faction known for their isolationist policies. Ambassador Cortez quickly brought Henry up to speed. The summit has approved the formation of Operation Green Shield. We'll be sending teams to affected planets, armed with modified versions of our gardening tools. Not without opposition, a gruff voice interrupted. A towering reptilian figure stepped forward, scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. I am General Crow of the Voth Confederacy. We cannot allow humans to freely wander our worlds with their Deathworld technology. The risk is too great. Henry felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him as he addressed the assembly. With all due respect, General, we don't have time for fear and suspicion. Dr. Jackson has discovered evidence suggesting these vines are engineered, possibly as a bioweapon. A shocked silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the urgent beeping of incoming distress signals. The holographic displays filled with scenes of chaos as the vines overran more worlds. Lyra's iridescent scales shimmered as she moved to stand beside Henry. We need to act now. I volunteer to join the Earth team and learn their containment techniques. More aliens stepped forward, offering their support. Even some who had been skeptical of humanity's intentions now saw the need for their expertise. As the response team rapidly came together, Henry pulled Lyra aside. We need to investigate the origin of these vines. Someone engineered them, which means someone is behind this outbreak. Lyra's multifaceted eyes narrowed. I have contacts in the galactic trading networks. We can trace the shipments back to their source. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the chamber's entrance. A group of security officers escorted in a visibly shaken Zygonian researcher. We've lost contact with the government on Novice Prime, the researcher's translator squealed. The vines have overwhelmed the capital. They're requesting immediate assistance. The summit arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with deep blue urgency. Operation Green Shield must deploy immediately. The situation on Novice Prime is critical. Henry locked eyes with Dr. Jackson and Lyra. They nodded in silent agreement. This was it, the moment that would define humanity's place in the galactic community. As they moved aboard their ship, Ambassador Cortez pulled Henry aside. Her expression was grim. Warren, there's more going on here than just an outbreak. Intelligence suggests a group called the Galactic Purists might be involved. Be careful out there. Henry's mind raced as he processed this new information. The pieces were starting to fit together. The engineered vines, the targeted worlds, the opposition from certain factions. This was more than a crisis. It was a carefully orchestrated plot. As the ship's engines roared to life, Henry looked at his diverse team of humans and aliens. They were about to face not just a biological threat, but potentially an enemy working actively against them. The fate of multiple worlds, and perhaps the future of humanity's role in the galaxy, rested on their shoulders. The ship lifted off, leaving the relative safety of Centauri Prime behind. Ahead lay Novice Prime, a world in chaos, and beyond that, the answers to who was really behind this galactic crisis. As they accelerated towards their destination, Henry couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was about to become far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. As their ship entered Novice Prime's atmosphere, the true scale of the crisis became apparent. Sprawling cities lay choked beneath a writhing mass of crimson vines. The once gleaming metropolis was now a labyrinth of twisted metal and shattered glass, with tendrils as thick as tree trunks snaking through crumbling buildings. Plumes of acrid smoke rose from scattered fires, painting the sky an ominous orange. Henry's grip tightened on the ship's controls as he guided them towards a fortified research facility on the outskirts of the capital. The structure stood as a lone bastion against the encroaching vegetation, its force fields flickering as they repelled probing vines. "This is our home base," Ambassador Cortez's voice crackled over the comm. "Novice Prime's top scientists have been holding out there. They're eager for your assistance." As they touched down on a cleared landing pad, Henry turned to his team. Dr. Jackson was already poring over preliminary data on his tablet, while Lyra's multifaceted eyes scanned the horizon, taking in the devastation. "Remember," Henry said, his voice steady despite the chaos outside, "we're not just here to contain the threat. We need to uncover who's behind this and why." They disembarked, the air heavy with the acrid scent of the vine's corrosive secretions. A group of haggard-looking Novice Prime officials rushed to meet them, led by a tall, avian being with iridescent feathers. "Thank the stars you've arrived," the being trilled, its universal translator struggling to convey the urgency in its voice. "I am Chief Scientist Zara. We've been barely holding on here." Inside the facility, Dr. Jackson wasted no time. He commandeered a lab, spreading out samples of the Zygonian vines collected from various infection sites. His fingers flew over holographic displays, comparing genetic sequences. "It's definitely Earth-based," he confirmed, pointing to a specific genetic marker. "But it's been spliced with something else, something that's supercharging its growth rate and aggression." Henry nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. He turned to a group of wide-eyed Novice Prime engineers. "We need to modify our tools for large-scale deployment. I'm thinking vine-cutting drones and automated pruning systems. Can you help with that?" The engineers nodded eagerly, relieved to have a clear direction. As they set to work, Henry caught Lyra's eye. The Comer ambassador inclined her head towards a quieter corner of the room. "I've been in contact with my network," she whispered, her scales shifting colors in agitation. "There are rumors of galactic purist cells on Novice Prime. We may be facing internal opposition." Henry's eyes sharp. "We need to tread carefully then. Can you use your diplomatic channels to gather more information?" Lyra nodded, her eyes glinting with commitment. "I'll coordinate with local authorities. Perhaps we can smoke out these infiltrators." As the day progressed, their base of operations transformed into a hive of activity. Dr. Jackson's team worked tirelessly to identify weaknesses in the vine's genetic structure. Henry oversaw the retrofitting of Earth's gardening tools, turning simple pruners and mulchers into formidable weapons against the botanical invaders. By nightfall, they were ready for their first major push into the city. A fleet of drones, equipped with high-energy cutting beams, buzzed ahead of ground teams wielding modified Earth technology. Henry led from the front, a plasma pruner in his hands crackling with energy. The vines put up fierce resistance. Tendrils whipped through the air, seeking to ensnare the advancing forces. Acid sprayed from ruptured pods, forcing the teams to don protective gear. But slowly, methodically, they began to reclaim the city. Block by block, district by district, Earth's Deathworld adaptations proved their worth. The drones darted through tangled masses of vegetation, severing critical growth points. On the ground, teams used sonic trowels to disrupt root systems and pressurized sprayers to deliver targeted doses of herbicide. As dawn broke, Henry stood atop a cleared building, surveying their progress. Entire sections of the city now stood free of the Crimson invaders. Cheers rose from the local population as they emerged from shelters, hope rekindled in their eyes. But the victory was short-lived. As Henry made his way back to the command center, an explosion rocked the ground. Alarms blared throughout the facility. "We're under attack," Zara's voice screeched over the comm. "Multiple breaches in our defenses." Henry raced towards the source of the commotion, his mind whirling. This was no random assault. Someone had waited for the perfect moment to strike, when their defenses were stretched thin. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with a group of heavily armed assailants. Their uniforms bore no insignia, but their eyes burned with fanatical intensity. One of them stepped forward, a sneer twisting his features. "Your Deathworld tricks end here, human," he snarled, raising his weapon. Henry's hand tightened on his plasma pruner. The real battle, it seemed, was just beginning. Henry's reflexes, honed by years on Earth's treacherous terrain, kicked in. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding a burst of energy from the attacker's weapon. The plasma pruner in his hand hummed to life, its cutting edge glowing with intense heat. "We don't have to fight," Henry said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "We're here to help." The leader of the group laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the facility's walls. "Help? You're here to spread your Deathworld corruption across the galaxy. We won't allow it." Before Henry could respond, Lyra's voice crackled over his comm. "Henry, we've got a situation. The vines are mutating faster than we can contain them. Dr. Jackson says we need to split our forces." In that moment of distraction, the attackers lunged forward. Henry parried a blow with his pruner, the plasma edge slicing through his opponent's weapon. The corridor erupted into chaos as more security forces arrived, engaging the intruders. "Fall back," Henry shouted to his team. "We need to regroup and reassess our strategy." As they retreated to the command center, Henry's mind raced. The situation was escalating on multiple fronts. The vines were evolving, and now they faced internal opposition as well. He knew they needed to act fast. Inside the command center, Dr. Jackson was already outlining a new plan. "We need to split our forces," he explained, his eyes darting between holographic displays. "Half of us need to return to Earth immediately. There's a looming threat in our solar system that we can't ignore." Henry nodded grimly. "I'll lead the team back to Earth. Dr. Jackson, can you handle things here?" The scientist straightened, dedication etched on his face. "Absolutely. We'll continue to combat the vine outbreaks on the affected planets." As they prepared for departure, Lyra approached Henry. "I'm coming with you," she said, her scales shimmering with perseverance. "My diplomatic skills might be needed." Within hours, Henry's team was aboard a high-speed interstellar vessel, hurtling through space towards Earth. The journey was tense, filled with strategic planning and worried speculation about what they might find in their home system. As they approached Earth's orbit, the ship's sensors blared a warning. Henry rushed to the bridge, his heart pounding. The view screen revealed a sight that made his blood run cold. A blockade of unidentified vessels surrounding Earth. "No known galactic insignia," Lyra muttered, her multifaceted eyes scanning the ships. "Who are they?" Henry's mind raced. He remembered a failsafe, a special code embedded in Earth's defensive systems. His fingers flew over the control panel, inputting a complex sequence. "Hold on," he warned his team. "This might get rough." For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, a small gap appeared in Earth's planetary shield. Henry didn't hesitate. He pushed the ship's engines to their limit, threading through the opening just as it closed behind them. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, a priority transmission came through. "This is United Earth Defense Command. Identify yourself immediately." Henry responded, his voice clear and authoritative. "This is Henry Warren, returning from the Galactic Peace Summit, requesting immediate escort to UEDC headquarters." The response was swift. A squadron of Earth fighters fell into formation around their ship, guiding them to a heavily fortified landing pad. As they touched down, Henry saw a familiar face waiting for them. Admiral Jackson, head of Earth's military forces. The Admiral's expression was grim as he greeted them. "Welcome back, Warren. I wish it were under better circumstances." Inside the UEDC headquarters, Admiral Jackson wasted no time with pleasantries. He led them to a secure briefing room, where holographic displays showed the blockade in orbit. "The ships belong to a previously unknown alien race," the Admiral explained. "They call themselves the Xerxians. They've issued an ultimatum. Surrender all our Deathworld technology and submit to genetic modification to remove our dangerous adaptations." Henry's mind whirled with the implications. And if we refuse? Admiral Jackson's face darkened. They claim they'll cleanse Earth to protect the rest of the galaxy. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Henry's thoughts turned to their unique assets. The very tools that had proven so effective against the Zygonian vines might be their key to survival. "Admiral," Henry said, a plan forming in his mind, "what if we could turn our guarding equipment into space-worthy weapons?" The Admiral's eyebrows rose. "Go on." Henry outlined his idea, modifying their Earth-based tools for space combat. Plasma pruners to disable ship systems, high-powered mulchers to disrupt enemy formations, all designed to neutralize threats without unnecessary destruction. As he spoke, Henry could see the spark of hope ignite in the eyes of those around him. It was a daring plan, one that would showcase Earth's ingenuity and technological prowess, while minimizing loss of life. Admiral Jackson nodded slowly, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "It's audacious, Warren, but it just might work. Let's get our factories on it immediately." As the UEDC sprang into action, Henry couldn't help but wonder about Dr. Jackson and the team they'd left behind. He hoped they were making progress against the mutating vines. Little did he know, their battles were about to become intertwined in ways none of them could have predicted. With Earth mobilizing its unconventional defenses and the Xerxian deadline looming, Henry knew the real challenge was just beginning. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would depend on their ability to adapt and overcome in the face of this new threat. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would depend on their ability to adapt and overcome in the face of this new challenge. With Earth's factories working around the clock to modify their gardening equipment for space combat, Henry found himself aboard the lead assault ship, preparing for a daring mission. The plan was audacious: board the Xerxian flagship and force a surrender from within. As their ship approached the blockade, Henry felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. He gripped his plasma pruner, its sleek design a far cry from its original purpose. Around him, his team checked their equipment, sonic trowels, high-powered mulchers, and other repurposed tools that now served as their best hope against the alien threat. 30 seconds to contact. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Henry turned to his team. "Remember, we're here to neutralize, not destroy. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The ship shuddered as it breached the Xerxian defenses. Alarms blared, and Henry felt the familiar lurch of a docking procedure. As the airlock hissed open, he led the charge into the alien vessel. The first Xerxian defenders they encountered were caught off guard. Henry's plasma pruner sliced through their barricades with ease, the superheated edge leaving a trail of molten metal in its wake. Behind him, his team unleashed a cacophony of Earth's repurposed might. Sonic trowels pulsed with intense vibrations, and Henry watched in amazement as the Xerxians' exoskeletons began to crack and splinter under the assault. The aliens stumbled, disoriented but largely unharmed. "Push forward," Henry shouted, leading the advance through the ship's winding corridors. As they fought their way deeper into the vessel, Henry noticed something odd about their opponents. Despite their fearsome appearance, the Xerxians seemed unnatural. Their movements were too uniform, their tactics too predictable. In a moment of clarity between skirmishes, Henry's second-in-command, Sarah, voiced what they were all thinking. These Xerxians, they're not a natural species, are they? Henry shook his head. "I don't think so. We need to get to their databanks. There's more going on here than we realized." They pressed on, their Earthborn strength and ingenuity proving more than a match for the Xerxian defenses. When they reached the ship's central computer core, Henry set to work, his fingers flying over the alien interface. "By the stars," he muttered as the information poured across the screen. "They're a client race, genetically engineered by the galactic purists." Sarah's eyes widened. We need to get this information back to Earth and the summit immediately. Henry nodded, quickly transmitting the data through their secure channel. As the last packet of information sent, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've detected the transmission," Sarah warned. "We need to move." With renewed urgency, they fought their way towards a command center. The Xerxian resistance grew fiercer, but Earth's guarding tools continued to prove their worth. High-powered mulchers cleared entire corridors of debris and disoriented defenders, while precision strikes from plasma pruners disabled weapon systems and sealed bulkheads. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors hissed open to reveal a towering figure, Supreme Commander Zax, leader of the Xerxian fleet. "You have no right to be here, Deathworlders," Zax snarled, his voice a harsh, artificial sound. Henry stepped forward, his plasma pruner held loosely at his side. "We don't want to fight you, Commander. We're here to protect our world and find a peaceful solution." Zax's eyes narrowed. "Peace? With creatures like you? Impossible." In response, Henry walked to a nearby console, a massive piece of Xerxian technology. With a grunt of effort, he lifted the entire unit off the ground, showcasing the incredible strength that Earth's high gravity had gifted its children. "We could have destroyed your ships," Henry said, setting the console down gently. "Instead, we chose to disable them. We used our strength to preserve life, not end it. That's the true power of a Deathworld species." Uncertainty flickered across Zax's features. For the first time, the Supreme Commander seemed to truly see the humans before him, not as monstrous threats, but as sentient beings capable of restraint and compassion. As the standoff in the command center continued, Henry's comm unit crackled to life. Admiral Jackson's voice came through, filled with a mix of excitement and relief. "Warren, we've done it. The Xerxian fleet is neutralized. Our modified tools work better than we could have hoped. We're beginning to take control of their ships for study." Henry allowed himself a small smile. "Excellent work, Admiral. We've made a breakthrough here as well. The Xerxians aren't our true enemy. They're pawns in a larger game." As Henry prepared to explain further, he noticed Zax's posture change. The Supreme Commander's shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of him as the full weight of the situation settled in. "Perhaps," Zax said slowly, "we have much to discuss." With the immediate threat neutralized and negotiations beginning, Henry couldn't help but wonder about Dr. Jackson and Lyra. He hoped their efforts against the Zygonian vines were proving as successful. Little did he know, their battles were about to intersect in ways that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of Deathworld species and their place in the cosmic order. Henry Warren stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel, watching as the Xerxian ships were systematically disabled and boarded. The repurposed guarding tools had proven their worth beyond his wildest expectations. As the last of the alien vessels fell silent, he turned to Supreme Commander Zax, who observed the proceedings with a mixture of awe and resignation. "It seems we have much to learn from you, Deathworlders," Zax admitted, his artificial voice tinged with a new note of respect. Before Henry could respond, Admiral Jackson's face appeared on the main view screen. "Warren, excellent work out there. We need you and your team back on Earth immediately. Bring Zax and any other high-ranking Xerxians you've captured. We've got a lot to discuss." The journey back to Earth was tense but uneventful. As they entered the atmosphere, Henry couldn't help but marvel at the sight of his home planet. The swirling blue and green orbs seemed more precious than ever after the events of the past few days. Upon landing, they were greeted by a throng of cheering crowds and a contingent of UEDC officials. Admiral Jackson strode forward, his face beaming with pride. "Welcome home, heroes," he said, clasping Henry's hand firmly. "You've just changed the course of galactic history." The next few days were a whirlwind of debriefings, data analysis, and strategy meetings. The information extracted from the Xerxian data core proved invaluable, revealing the extent of the galactic purist machinations. As Henry pored over the reports, his comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission. Dr. Marcus Jackson's face appeared, his eyes alight with excitement. "Henry, you won't believe what we've accomplished here," the scientist said, barely containing his enthusiasm. "We've done it. We've stabilized the hybrid Zygonian crop plants. Not only have we saved this world's food production, but we've created something entirely new." Henry leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Dr. Jackson launched into an explanation of their breakthrough, describing a new strain of crops that combine the resilience of Zygonian vines with the nutritional value of earth plants. As he listened, Henry's mind raced with the possibilities. This could revolutionize agriculture across the galaxy, he mused. "Exactly," Dr. Jackson nodded. "But there's more. The Galactic Peace Summit is reconvening to discuss recent events. They want us to present our findings." Henry's comm unit beeped again, this time with a message from Ambassador Jonathan Reeves. The diplomat's face was grave as he delivered his news. "Warren, we've got a situation. A group of moderate galactic purists has approached the summit. They're offering information in exchange for amnesty and the chance to work with Deathworld species. It's causing quite a stir." As Henry processed this information, Admiral Jackson entered the room, his face etched with concern. "We've got a new problem," he announced. "One of our colonies on Novatera has reported a new plant species. It's aggressive, spreading rapidly, and shares characteristics with both the Zygonian vines and Earth's most dangerous flora. We need to act fast." Henry's mind whirled with the implications. The Xerxian conflict, the Zygonian vine crisis, the purist defectors, and now this new threat on Novatera. It all seemed interconnected, pieces of a larger puzzle they were only beginning to understand. "Assemble a team," Henry said, his voice firm with perseverance. "We'll need Dr. Jackson, Ambassador Lyra, and our best experts on Deathworld-derived technology. We're going to Novatera." As they prepared for departure, Henry reviewed the latest data on the Novatera situation. The colony's governor had sent a final transmission before communication was lost. The message played on a loop in the briefing room, ending each time with the chilling sound of tearing metal and inhuman screeches. Boarding the advanced Earth vessel equipped with the latest Deathworld-derived technology, Henry couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would be their greatest challenge yet. As they broke through Earth's atmosphere, he gazed at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, a colony was fighting for survival against a threat they had inadvertently helped create. The ship's engines hummed to life, propelling them towards Novatera. Henry turned to his team, each member's face a mask of tenacity. They all understood the gravity of their mission, the fate of Novatera, and perhaps the future of Deathworld species in the galactic community rested on their shoulders. As they hurtled through space, Henry's thoughts turned to the challenges that awaited them on Novatera's surface. The hybrid plant species, with its combination of Zygonian and Earth characteristics, would be unlike anything they had faced before. But they had overcome seemingly insurmountable odds before, and they would do so again. The ship's AI announced their approach to Novatera. Henry moved to the view screen, watching as the planet came into view. From orbit, the world looked like a swirling mass of green and brown, the aggressive flora visible even from space. "Prepare for landing," Henry ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do." The ship shuddered as it entered Novatera's atmosphere, the hull groaning under the strain of re-entry. Henry wrapped his hand around the chairs of his seat, his eyes fixed on the interface as the planet's surface came into focus. What he saw made his blood run cold. Gone were the neat rows of cultivated fields and gleaming habitation domes he remembered from his last visit. In their place was a writhing mass of green and brown, a tangled nightmare of vegetation that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. "By the stars," Dr. Jackson breathed, leaning forward to get a better look. "It's worse than we thought." The ship's AI chimed in, its voice calm despite the dire situation. Warning: atmospheric analysis indicates high levels of unknown biological compounds. Caution is advised. Henry nodded grimly. Understood. Find us a landing spot, preferably close to the main habitat dome. The AI complied, guiding the ship towards a small clearing that was rapidly shrinking as vines encroached from all sides. As they descended, tendrils of plant matter lashed out at the hull, leaving streaks of sizzling acid in their wake. "Brace for impact," Henry called out as the ship touched down with a bone-jarring thud. The moment the airlock hissed open, the team was assaulted by a wave of humid, pungent air. Henry stepped out first, his modified plasma pruner at the ready. The clearing was already closing in around them, riding vines and carnivorous flowers reaching hungrily towards the newcomers. "Move fast," Henry ordered, activating his pruner. The superheated edge sliced through the aggressive flora with ease, carving a path towards a barely visible dome in the distance. Dr. Jackson followed close behind, pausing occasionally to collect samples with a pair of specialized tongs. "Fascinating," he muttered, examining a particularly vicious-looking flower. "It seems to have combined the Zygonian vine's rapid growth with the predatory instincts of some of Earth's most dangerous plants." Lyra brought up the rear, her Comer sensory organs twitching as she scanned for signs of life. "I'm picking up faint life signs from the direction of the dome," she reported. "But there's something else. A sort of background noise. It's like the plants are communicating." Henry frowned at this news, but pressed on. As they neared the dome, the vegetation became increasingly aggressive. Vines whipped at their protective suits, while flowers spat globs of corrosive sap. "Use your sonic trowels," Henry called out, activating his own. The air filled with a high-pitched whine, and the plants nearest to them recoiled, their movements becoming erratic. "It's disrupting their communication," Lyra observed. "But they're adapting quickly. We need to move." They sprinted the last few meters to the dome, Henry's pruner working overtime to clear a path. As they reached the airlock, a massive tendril, thick as a tree trunk, slammed into the ground beside them. "Inside now!" Henry shouted, holding the door as his team rushed through. He dove in after them, the airlock sealing shut just as another tendril crashed against it. Inside the dome, the air was thick with spores and the sickly sweet scent of decaying vegetation. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over the scene of devastation. Plants had breached the structure in multiple places, turning what was once a state-of-the-art research facility into a jungle ruin. "Hello," Henry called out. "Any survivors?" For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a voice called back, weak but determined. "Over here." They found the survivors huddled in what had once been the dome's control center. A dozen haggard faces looked up at them, hope dawning in their eyes. At their head was a woman Henry recognized as Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the colony's governor. "Thank the stars you're here," she said, her voice hoarse. "We thought we'd been abandoned." As Henry helped the survivors to their feet, Dr. Jackson approached Dr. Rodriguez. "What happened here?" he asked. Dr. Rodriguez's face fell. "It was supposed to be a breakthrough," she explained. "We were combining Zygonian vine samples with Novaterra's native flora, hoping to create a more resilient crop. But something went wrong. The hybrid we created, it was smarter than we anticipated, more aggressive. It overran our defenses in hours." Henry's mind raced as he processed this information. The plants outside weren't just dangerous. They were intelligent. As if to confirm his thoughts, a tremor ran through the dome, accompanied by the screech of tearing metal. "We need to evacuate," Henry decided. "Dr. Jackson, see what you can do about developing a countermeasure. Lyra, help me coordinate the evacuation." As they worked, Henry couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The plants seemed to be testing the dome's defenses, probing for weaknesses with an eerie sense of purpose. Time was running out, and Henry knew that their next move would determine not just the fate of this colony, but potentially the future of Deathworld species and the galactic community. With a deep breath, Henry turned to his team. Let's show these plants what Deathworlders are truly capable of.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.